So the last question that I want to ask you, or not really a question, but I just want to talk to you about, which we kind of touched on, the importance of styling in the fashion industry, and why you think it's and why it is so important to photography, and how it brings a shoot from this level to like this level. I don't know if you can see my hand, but it's high.
Yeah. No, I mean, styling, I think, is, especially when it comes to fashion photography, if we're just talking about fashion photography for 1 second, styling is the most important part other than the photographer.
Yeah, because you are selling a product. Fashion photography is about selling clothing and selling a lifestyle. So
yeah,
the point is to have clothing that speaks to the shoot. So
exactly. And I mean, styling is important for all aspects of photography, but if we're talking about fashion, you need to have a real vision with what you are showing, because it's about the fashion. So if you have a shoot where you want to do something fashion based, but you just kind of like, yeah, the model can bring clothing, it's fine, it's not going to be of the same quality that you're going to have if you have someone actually sit down and envision the type of clothing, set it all out, make sure that everything is put together and fits.
Yeah.
And as a model, I've had this where, photographers say, just bring stuff. But it's the images, the quality of the images are never as good as when you have someone who brings the clothing and fits it all together.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, can I just jump in?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so for me, because it is so hard finding stylists in Toronto, especially because I'm on a bit of a budget usually, so finding stylists that want to collaborate can be hard. So there's no shame in asking a model to bring something. Just be sure that you're specific in what you want the model to bring. And I find that usually I get models to bring something if it's a bit more of a test shoot, if it's something simple, or if it's something a little bit more portrait-y. I do a lot of portraits that have a bit of a fashion touch, or a lot of fashion shots that have a bit of a portrait touch. That's just kind of my style. I kind of blend the two a little bit. So there's no shame if you don't have access to a stylist in asking the model to bring stuff. But I think the biggest thing there is to be sure that the model has stuff that she can bring that, is of some quality. Like, I ask models to bring a lot of really basic stuff, so neutral colors and that kind of thing, but I need to make sure that they have clothes of a certain quality, and if they don't, then I'll either style myself or I will, call Annie, because she's the best. And I just poked her shoulder. That's okay.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, there's absolutely no shame in asking, the model to bring clothing. It just, just make sure that if you're doing something that, for example, if you want to submit to a magazine.
Oh, if you want to submit, if you're actually, for test shoots and portraits and that kind of thing, it's not as big of a deal. But if you are actually trying to submit a photo to a magazine, or if you're shooting something a little bit more editorial, you really need to either style it yourself properly, or ideally to find a stylist, because it is so important.
Exactly. And I've talked to models, and I've seen photographers' works where they want to do a beautiful romantic gown photo shoot, and they have all their mood board images are these, $10,000, $30,000 gowns that are styled and, shot in Paris, and then the clothing they pull for the shoot are $30 prom dresses. And well, it may have a similar-ish vibe to the original. It really is, the quality is so important, because you might think, oh, it won't look cheap on camera. It will look cheap on camera.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in using cheaper clothing or cheaper materials for photography. I've pulled from H&M before. I've used clothing that's not the highest quality, but there are times and there are places, and you have to understand the constraints of what those are.
And I think also it's important if the photographer wants something like that, and you know, it's very hard pulling from designers.
Oh, it's so difficult.
I know this to be true. So I think it's, you know, it's not fair to put that pressure on a stylist to, you know, have photos in a mood board of $20,000 gowns and, you know, Chanel or Versace or whatever, because it just doesn't put like reasonable expectations on you. And I think also, if you're gonna have a mood board like that, you're making promises that you can't really keep. Because I think for these shoots that some photographers put in their report or in their mood board, it's these kind of unreasonable things where it's shot in Paris, or you know, it's shot with supermodels and stuff. And it's okay to include stuff like that in your mood board, but also don't create, you know, these unreasonable expectations or these promises that you can't keep, because then you're just gonna let people down. And
you're gonna let yourself down.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna sit there and compare your work to the work of a photographer who has, you know, like $100,000
all
budget.
these resources.
And you know, that's not fair to you. So, you know, keep in mind, you know, have reasonable expectations for what you can afford. And you know, you can create some amazing images on very little budget. I've seen it happen like so many times. Just absolutely stunning images.
I have zero budget most of the time. I'm a student. Like I find ways to kind of work around that. So it can be done, but just have reasonable expectations, and also don't put unreasonable pressure on your team, because that's just not fair. So make sure when you're creating a mood board, and when you're in dialogue with and communicating with all your team, it's very important that you have, you know, like stuff in the mood board and have ideas that are, you know, manageable. And you can still be so creative on a budget, but
so creative.
Don't basically don't be a jerk and put a bunch of pressure on.
Don't go to your stylist and say, I want a Versace dress, and then just kind of expect it to happen. It might not happen. But to touch on designers and pulling from designers, I don't think we've touched on that yet.
Yeah, go for it.
It's going to be very difficult at first. You know, you have to network, and a lot of designers are not going to want to lend you their clothing, especially if you don't have a lot of experience, you don't have a portfolio. I've been turned down because I'm not a stylist with an agency. So you do have to just keep trying. I've been lucky enough that I met a lot of designers, especially student designers, through my modeling work. So I already had some of these contacts, which I was able to just message and make polls from. But you know, what you just need to do is you need to, you know, send out an email, make sure it's really professional sounding. You have to link your portfolio, you have to link the photographer's portfolio, the model's portfolio, the makeup artist, all the team. Make sure every single one of them has their portfolio listed in your email. Explain when you are shooting. Obviously, make sure that it's a reasonable date. Don't message the designer the day before and be like, hey, can I borrow that dress? They won't be able to do it. And you know, just make sure you have everything, possibly all the possible information for the shoot listed. And then you might get lucky, and you might have a designer actually interested. And you know, if you're just starting out as a stylist or as a photographer who wants to start pulling from designers, working with student designers is really, really good. It's really useful. There are plenty of student designers who are looking to get their work out there, and it's a good stepping stone. You may not find that all their work is the same quality as what you might be finding with already established designers, but there are some amazing student designers out there, and they are just itching to get their stuff photographed and to work with teams. So just shooting them a message, you know, looking up, there are plenty of, you know, groups on Facebook, social media, for like connecting student designers and photographers. So, you know, really looking through all the channels and finding these designers is really useful.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Social media is so valuable in putting together teams and finding other creative people, because yeah, the world honestly is like so big right now. Social media just opens up so many doors. So I think no matter what creative profession you're in, it's just so important to keep putting yourself out there. And I always say this because like the worst thing they can say is no.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, and especially because like if it's online, like I contact people all the time. I just put myself out there, and like especially if it's online, it just doesn't hurt as much, you know, as being rejected to your face. So it's just not that big of a deal.
You can't see their face when they reject you.
And the other thing is a lot of but then a lot of times it's not a definite no, it's just like a no for now. And there's so many people that I've reached out to when my portfolio was just not as great, that, you know, didn't respond or said no or said I needed to improve. And when I did improve, I reached out to them again, and like I've gotten, you know, emails back, and I've worked with a lot of people.
Now you're getting approached by people.
Exactly, yeah. So it's just, honestly, it's like a ladder you just have to climb and keep improving on. And I think that's another important thing that we just touch on quickly before we end this video, is that it is so important to work with quality team members. Like, I've worked with, when I started out, I was just shooting my friends, I was doing the makeup and hairstyling and, you know, styling, or they were doing it themselves. And there's, again, nothing wrong with that when you're starting out, but it goes from, you know, shooting friends and family members to shooting online models and then shooting agency models, and you just, that is all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this Q&A and chat with Annie. She is super talented, and I'll link all of her different social media channels, because
so many, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, she does so many things. She's an amazing artist and stylist and model and photographer. She really does it all. So I'll link all of that down below, and you should definitely check out her work. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And please, if you have any questions or if you have anything that you'd like to see in future videos, comment down below. I think that's all for now. So thank you so much for tuning in, and goodbye.